everyone, welcome back to the vlog. I'm currently in Baku at the World Cup. I was supposed to put this vlog out weeks ago, however I had a bit of difficulty editing it and then I've just been really busy since then. I was in Berlin a couple of weeks ago shooting and then I was at home for less than a week before I then came out to Baku. I'm at home for less than a week before I then go to Sweden again, so it's all just very busy. So apologies that it's taken me quite so long to get this vlog to you. I wanted to do a vlog a wee bit about my training and how it looks and why it looks like that. I've had lots of questions about how to train and things, so I thought I would do like a brief overview of that. So here we go. Up until the Olympics, I used to train pretty much 5 days a week, occasionally 4 days if I had something on, but pretty much 5 days a week. I'm a full-time athlete, so I would train 5 days a week, about 5 hours a day. That's a kind of 2 or 3 day split between air rifle and 3P. The earlier part of the year would normally be split more air rifle to less 3P, and then it would switch as we kind of went further down the line. Air rifle sessions tend to be a wee bit shorter than 3 position sessions. But yeah, in general I would train about 5 hours a day for 5 days a week. Now I train probably 2 or 3 days a week, partly just because I'm still managing my health and fatigue levels that I've been struggling with, and really just trying to have a better work-life balance, I suppose. But it doesn't seem to be doing me any harm, so that's good. At the start of the year we're looking at improving technique. Usually basic techniques, because that's about where 80% of your shooting comes from. So we're doing lots and lots of drills on how to improve that. As we progress later into the year, we switch into a sort of performance mode. If I'm going into competitions, then we do a lot more sort of performance drills aimed at performing, and then sort of go in and out of performance versus maintenance throughout the rest of the year during competition season. At some point in the year, you have to just accept that you are where you are in that particular season and that you're not likely to improve very much more than that. You have to make do with what you have at that particular time. That's when you start doing performance drills, so that you can really bring where you are at that time to your performances and you don't see much of a drop off in your competitions from where you are in training. But that's individual for a lot of athletes, so you kind of have to make that decision for yourself as to when during the season that is. It's probably January for me, end of January, where I just accept that like my technique is where it is for that season and you can make some improvements here and there, but I then work on performing those skills at the level they're at that particular time. There's an awful lot of literature out there about periodization within performance sport. Some of it applies to shooting, some of it doesn't, because we're not looking to build muscle like some of the more athletic sports, but a lot of it is very useful. You have macrocycles, mesocycles and microcycles. Your macrocycle would be your sort of overarching. For me, I have 5-year plans, but I also have 4-year cycles for an Olympic cycle. So my macrocycle would be probably the 4 years of Olympics to the next Olympics. Your mesocycles are your sort of ones in the middle. I would say they're probably the years. Each year is a mesocycle. So at the start, or before the start of the season, we look at what competitions I'm going to that year and plan all of that out. Then you have microcycles. Again, I've probably got a couple of microcycles. So we split the year down into training blocks or into performance blocks, depending on where we are in the year. They will usually finish as a block of training and then a performance, usually a competition, or if we're at the start of the year then we'll put in a training competition. That would be one micro block. Also we have daily training blocks, and that is also a micro block. To know what you're going to do in each training session, you should really have goals for each one of those cycles. For a macro cycle, I have a 4-year goal for, say, the Olympics, or if you're aiming for a World Championships, we also used to have Commonwealth Games, so we used to have two-year cycles within a 4-year cycle that kind of overlapped. So you would have your main goal of like, what do you want to achieve in that 4-year cycle? You then have within your mesocycle your year goal. So say this year we have World Championships. I've got a goal that pertains to World Championships. So that's my like mesocycle. And then for each block I chat with my coach and we discuss like what are my goals for that block. Am I aiming to improve a particular aspect of my technique? Am I aiming to improve multiple aspects of my technique? Am I aiming to perform well at this competition? Am I aiming to learn about X, Y and Z? We usually have between 3 and 6 maybe goals for a training block, and they're usually in different areas, so I wouldn't aim to have 6 different bits of technique that I was going to improve in one of those training blocks. Training blocks tend to be about 4 to 6 weeks long, but I might have 2 areas of technique that I would want to improve, something I wanted to learn, whether that's about like diet or about like gym exercise while I'm at competitions, something like that. I might have something where I want to perform at this competition, things like that. So I could have maybe like somewhere between 3 to 6 goals for a training block, and then from those goals is where you find out what to do in your trainings, your individual training sessions. You go to your individual training sessions and they should all be tailored towards meeting those goals for your block. And you would normally have 1 or 2 goals that you want to get out of that training session. That gives you motivation to go to that training session. It helps you like have a focus so that you're not all there absolutely all day, and gives you something to do, gives you something to work on that's also in the right direction for where you want to be. That's kind of the way at least I work in terms of working out what I'm going to do every day. Yeah, I hope that helps some of the questions that I had. Like I said, it's a very whirlwind tour of periodization, but hopefully that makes sense. If there's any questions or anything, you can pop them in the comments section and I will try to get back to you and answer those questions for you. Other than shooting, I also do a fair amount of physical training. So I'm in the gym 3 days a week doing strength weights training, usually just full body. I do actually 3 full body sessions. These days, because I have some other interests and goals, I tend to do 2 full body sessions and then one that's a bit more focused towards sort of gymnastic skill or handstands, which is something that I'm working on. On the other 3 days a week, I try to go running. I'm trying to improve my running, which leaves me 1 day off a week for rest. I also do a fair bit of yoga, partly because I'm interested in yoga. I'm trying to become a yoga teacher, but partly just because I find it helps my body and my mind, I suppose. I think the gym training and the running, I know I hear an awful lot of people talk about, oh, you don't need to be fit to be a shooter, and while that's, I guess, strictly true, I think it's really helpful to be a bit fitter. It certainly helps when we go long distance travelling. You adapt to the time zone change, to different temperatures a lot faster if you're a fitter person. Lowering your heart rate with breathing to an extent during finals and things like that is a lot easier to do if you're fitter. We have an awful lot of heavy equipment to carry around with us. My equipment weighs more than I do, so carrying that around with me is probably the biggest area of risk for injury for me. So again, being a bit stronger minimises that risk. Plus it just keeps you a bit healthier, it helps your immune system, makes me feel better. So there's lots of benefits to doing strength training, even if you're a shooter. Like I said at the start, that is me currently in Baku. I shot the mixed air rifle with Dean this morning. We were 6th, 0.2 off of the medal match. But I'm really happy with how we shot. I think we shot really well. So next time I will do a whole Baku vlog later and tell you about everything else. But I have individual air rifle tomorrow and then the 3 positions on Sunday before I then head home again. I'm heading off to Sweden after this for a European Cup for 300 metre. That'll be the first time I've picked up the big gun since I think September last year. So that should be fun. And then I get a little bit of time off. I had the training camp cancelled, so I've got a little bit of time off in June before the European Games, which is nice. So yeah, that's how it's kind of looking going forward. Some of you might have seen this a little while ago. British Shooting are doing a series called Athlete Stories. Mine was shared probably a month ago now and I just haven't managed to get this vlog out. So I thought I would share it again here because I thought it was a really well edited piece actually. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. So I just wanted to share it again here if you haven't already seen it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm sorry it's a wee bit of a short one, but hopefully more to come in the not too distant future. I say it every time, but I will endeavour to get more videos out. But yeah, for now, thanks for watching and I'll see you soon. Bye!
I didn't shoot as well as I'd wanted to at the games. I didn't get what I wanted out of that, and I was really struggling with it. I was really struggling whether to continue the sport or not. We were still in a lockdown, COVID type situation. Yeah, I just didn't really know what was going on. I'd moved to a new city as well, and I was trying to do uni, but because of COVID, we weren't allowed to go into classes, so I was doing all this online learning. So I probably thought I was at rock bottom. After the games, it is a bit depressing. I've certainly not wanted to talk about it in some ways because my experience wasn't the worst experience I've heard of. I've heard a lot of other athletes talking about things that were much, much worse than what I've had to deal with. But just because somebody else is suffering doesn't mean that you're not also suffering. and just remembering that just because somebody else is having a harder time doesn't mean that you're not having a hard time. I think it's really important that we talk about like mental health issues, and people having hard times is totally fine. And I think it's important that we all share those things and talk about those things, because I think it helps each other. It's certainly really difficult to kind of maintain focus when you've got all of that sort of stuff going on in the background. Yeah, it's kind of just taking it one day at a time, one competition at a time. I was supposed to be at a World Cup in Cairo, but managed to get myself COVID. I had a back injury as well, which I was dealing with at roughly the same time. I ended up having another problem with an ovarian cyst later on in the year, which meant, again, I missed the Danish Masters I was supposed to shoot. I managed to shoot the World Cup in Baku, which was okay. Yeah, Changwon, I was still dealing a wee bit with the sort of aftermath of the cyst, but was getting back to normal. And then went into Cairo, actually feeling a little better. I shot the air rifle in Cairo, went really well. I'm really happy with how that went. Sadly, just after that, though, I got ill and had to miss the 3P individual event. And I was supposed to shoot 9 events. I managed to shoot 4 and I missed 5. Every like illness or injury, I was kind of like, okay, well that could be the last thing. There can't be more. And then something else happened. You're kind of like, okay, well, like there can't be more, and it just keeps getting worse. So we've gone through like plan A, B, C, all the way down to Z. I think the team around you is just like the most important thing, and they're out of it as well as being in it, I guess. They can't feel what I feel, but they can see decisions or whatever from outside. My main focus is trying to get healthy and stay healthy going forwards, but there's not much I can do about the past, so I just have to let go. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to continue in the sport. Got a little bit of my mojo back. I'm excited to get the rest of my mojo back. Yeah, like there's still a lot of stuff going on. It's not like you flip a switch and you're cured. There's still a lot of stuff to work on and develop, but I definitely feel like I'm over the hump, I guess. Over the years, I think I've fallen more in love with the sport the more I've realised that it's a performance rather than like a competitive outlet, I guess. It's going to sound nuts to some people. But I was a musician as a kid, so the performing bit came easily to me, well, eventually. It becomes less about comparing yourself to other people, which I think is always quite harmful in lots of different ways. The thing that drives me most these days is putting in a better performance than I did last time. And that might be a higher score, or it might not be. But it's about, like, did I perform better this time than I did last time? They've changed it now so that you, like, face the audience when you first, like, walk onto the firing line in the finals. So, yeah, you can see everybody and they're looking at you, and it's quite useful in some ways. I think, like, laughing can get rid of quite a lot of nerves as well. So you've got all of your teammates making faces at you in the crowd. It can be, like, quite, yeah, useful to get rid of the nerves, but also, like, there's so much, like, support behind you, and you know that those are just, like, a few small representation of the number of people who are actually supporting you behind the scenes. Personally, I train, like, I do strength training 3-4 times a week. I run 3 times a week, do a lot of yoga. I'm just an active person. I do a bit of gymnastics behind the scenes just for fun. My top tips: get enough sleep, reasonably good diet. Like, you don't have to give up the McDonald's, but yeah, I don't know, a good diet helps the sleep part. Try not to get too freaked out. It's sport and it's important, but at the same time, it's only sport. It's not life or death necessarily. It's supposed to be fun.